Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I am filming my first study and school related video. I'm very excited. This is the whole reason why I started my channel. So I'm very excited to film it. I am doing my top 5 study tips. Oh, and if you don't know, I am a senior at the University of Central Florida and I'm a biology major. So I'm not saying I'm a pro at studying, but I've been studying for a very long time. So these are at least my top 5 favorite tips. I feel like a lot of people either don't do them or they've never tried them out, but at least they're really helpful for me. So you guys should definitely try them out. If you don't already subscribe, you should subscribe because I'm planning on doing more study tips like this, and I already do a lot of college and lifestyle videos. So yeah, enough of me rambling. I'm gonna jump right in. Okay, tip number 1 is to review your notes at the end of every single class. I know that sounds tedious, but it's very beneficial because when you come to the exam, it's not the first time you're seeing the material. It's going to be at least a second because you saw it once in class and then you're seeing it again after class. Also, I know some professors lecture very fast and it's easy for you to either not understand or not really practice the questions if you have math related questions. So reviewing the material after class is very beneficial. Some ways that I do this is I make a Quizlet. So at the end of every chapter or at the end of every class, whatever, it depends on what the lecturer finishes. If we finish the chapter, I'll make the whole chapter Quizlet. This allows me to read over the notes once again, and it also allows me to critically think of how the professor will ask me questions based on this material. So I'm turning that information that is given to me into question format, and that's another form of studying, just making the Quizlet on its own. So yeah, I know a lot of other people like to either go over their notes and go over the notes after class and then bring the textbook and add to the notes. Some people do it before class. Whatever works for your time schedule and works for you, this just works for me. So yeah. Okay, step number 2 is to stay organized. I know that's very cliche, but it's also really beneficial. I remember back, I think it was Orgo 1, I was not organized at all. I didn't know which chapters were gonna be on which exam. I didn't know, sometimes you would skip chapters and it just made me more confused and it did not help me in any way. So it's very important to stay organized. The way I stay organized, and I at least find it the best way, is to organize my notes per chapter, and then from the chapter I do it per exam. So I'll show you on my iPad over here. I have, the subject, the course, whatever, and then I have exam 1, exam 2, etc. And then I open the exam 1, I see chapters 1 through 5. Okay, so I know exam 1 is going to be all this. So not only does it help me study per chapter, it also helps me know when the final comes around. This was what exam 1 was based on. So when I'm studying for finals, I like to study per exam. So let's say I have a week to study for a final. I'll study from exam 1 to exam 4. And then the last, 3 days, I'll do more broad studying, just reviewing all the material. So those individual days, I'm really going specific on those chapters. Okay, the third tip I have for you is to not overdo it. I know this is easier said than done, but you don't want to study for, at least me personally, I don't study more than 3 hours per class per day. So that sounds like a lot because if you have 2 tests to study for, that's already 6 hours. But if you only have 1 test, you can fit in 3 hours. Even if it's not 3 hours straight, you can do an hour here, an hour there, an hour between classes, whatever. But I find 3 hours per day is a good number. You can get a lot done. You can read a chapter. You can do some Quizlets. It's enough time. Okay, tip number 4, don't wait until the last minute. I've heard horror stories of people sitting in the library the day before the test, doing an all-nighter, and then they come to class and they look like they haven't slept in a week. Don't do that. I know time is not there for everyone, but it's definitely more beneficial to study a little bit per day over a longer period of time than just to try to fit it in all in one day. At least for my brain, it works for me to do a little bit per day and to consistently see the material over and over and over. That goes back to step 1 and step 3 that I said, where if you study your notes at the end of class, there's one time. If you're not overdoing it and you're doing it a little bit per day, you're seeing it over a larger amount of days. So I like to give myself at least a week before an exam to start studying the material. I mean, ideally, you should be reviewing, like I said, your notes after every class. So technically, you're actually, if you're doing that, you're studying since the last exam. It's perfect. You're not stressed out, you're not cramming, you're not taking a whole day to cram like 3 weeks information into one day. Definitely don't wait until the last minute. It's a big mistake. Okay, step number 5, or I should say tip number 5, is by far the most important tips of all of these. It is to plan out your studying for the week or for however long. If you want to do it day by day, whatever's better for you. For me, I like to do a broad week. So I'll show you guys here. Like Monday, I'll study chapter 1, Tuesday, I'll study chapter 2, etc. But I like to study, I like to plan out per day as well. So I'll write a sticky note of my to-do list. So here's just an example for how I studied for my evolutionary biology exam that just passed. So I did my Quizlets for chapters 1 through 5 twice. So usually I would start with the Quizlet, do them all the way through on the test section, and then once that was over, I would go to my next step, and that was to re-listen to the lecture for chapter 1. That's, today, Monday. I'm re-listening to the lecture for chapter 1. I'm taking extra notes. If I don't understand something, I'm opening my textbook and figuring it out. And then lastly, again, like I said, I will do the Quizlets again. So not only am I going more in depth on one chapter, I'm also looking at all the material. So this allows me to look at all the material for a longer period of time, but it also allows me to really understand things that I missed in class or things that I didn't catch before. So yeah, planning is definitely beneficial, so that way when you open your textbook, you're not just aimlessly reading things, you actually have a plan, you're actually breaking it out, and it kind of ties into all these other tips I gave you. You're reviewing your notes, you're staying organized, you're not overdoing it because you have a plan, and you don't wait until the last minute because you're spacing it out. Definitely these things have allowed me to not only study more productively, but to also manage my stress. I'm not so stressed before an exam because I know that I studied. I know I put in the time. I know that I studied all the material, and I know I did the best that I could. I mean, whatever is the grade that I get at the end of it, I know at least with my conscience that I tried my best. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for my 5 tips. I'll be more willing to give you guys videos on more specifics on how I study, but for now, I mean, I feel like these tips can go for anyone in any major, any field. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment down below, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.